Hi guys, I'm George and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm here in Ubatuba, so I'm a YouTuber in Ubatuba. That sounds kind of funny. This is a beach in the sort of northern shores of Sao Paulo state, and as you can see behind me, pretty cool beach. It's quite overcast today. We've got a lot of nice big tropical trees, some mountains going off into the distance, and some big rocks as well in the foreground. So I think it should make for quite an interesting composition to paint. Remember, please do subscribe to my channel, and let's start painting this beach, which is called Praia do Cedro in Ubatuba.
I'm painting on an oil-primed linen canvas that I've taped to a plywood panel. I start by applying an imprimatura of raw umber paint, which I rub thoroughly into my canvas. I apply less of this raw umber wash to the top right of my canvas, as this is where the sky will be, which is the lightest area of the painting. So in a way, I'm using this raw umber wash to create a big, overall tonal value shape of my composition, which is an L shape formed by the mass of the trees and the rocks on the left and the sand in the foreground. Using a fine filbert brush, I'm now sketching in the contours of the main features in the composition in more detail. To paint the trees, I start by filling in the big shapes within the mass of trees, starting with the darkest areas, using a mix of ultramarine blue, raw umber, and a touch of emerald green. Now that I've established the darkest dark in my painting, I'm now keying in the lightest light, which is in the lightest sections of the clouds in the sky. I find it helpful to paint the lightest light and the darkest dark early on, as this will set the tonal value scale for your painting, so you can compare the other tonal values against these, as in a painting everything is relative. Also, as I'm painting this alla prima or wet into wet, by painting these sections early on, it means I can apply these colour mixes cleanly to the canvas without having to worry about them mixing with other colour mixes on the surface, which could in turn lighten my dark mix or darken my light mix, as well as changing the hue. For the darker parts of the clouds in the sky, I'm making a greyed down cool purple mix using a mix of titanium white, ultramarine blue and carmine red, and a small touch of yellow ochre to neutralise the chroma of the purple a bit. To paint these distant mountains, I'm starting with the one furthest away, and I'm trying to keep the value shifts between it and the sky to a minimum, as its lightness in value is what pushes it back in space, giving depth to the scene. For the mountains in front, I'm making them slightly darker in value, but still adding a considerable amount of titanium white in these colour mixes, as I want to keep them in this background level of the painting. I'm also painting these with a bluish, purplish hue, and although I can actually tell that they are in fact covered in trees and foliage, so you might ask, why am I not painting them green? The reason is due to atmospheric perspective, which means as things get further away in distance, the details such as individual trees are lost, and the colour takes on a greyish, purplish blue tone, rather than the vibrant green hues that I would see if they were closer to the foreground. I'm also softening the edges on these mountains, especially on the one furthest away, as things far in the distance are less in focus. Also helps create that effect of the low clouds over the mountains. To paint the rocks in the foreground, I start by painting the darkest areas of shadow on the rocks, and at this stage I'm not trying to paint individual finished rocks, but I'm really looking for the abstract shapes and patterns in the shadow shapes on the rocks and just trying to paint this down first. Once I've established the shadows, I'm now using a lighter colour mix for the light mid-tones on the rocks. I will also add an even lighter highlight to a few sections on some of the rocks which are catching the light. When painting a mass of trees like this, the most important area, which requires the most attention to detail, is the contour where the trees meet the sky, as this is the area of the highest tonal contrast, so the viewer's eyes will naturally be drawn to this. So by painting this area convincingly, we will subconsciously fill in the details within the mass of trees, as this contour has already convinced us that this is an area full of trees and dense foliage. For these sections of water close to the rocks, I'm adding a few dashes of pure emerald green, as these areas are reflecting the dark greens of the trees above. To paint the sea, I'm using a colour mix of titanium white, ultramarine blue, and a small touch of yellow ochre and carmine red to make this a cool grey colour mix. The reason why the sea doesn't appear as a deep blue here is due to the grey overcast sky, as the sea colour is largely a reflection of the sky colour, and therefore it will change depending on whether the sky is clear or cloudy, as well as during different times of day where the colour of the sky can appear warmer, such as during sunrise and sunset. For this reason, it's helpful to forget about the idea that the sea is blue, as the sea colour is impacted by so many different factors in the environment. And sometimes when painting in Plein-Air, you'll even witness the sea colour changing before your very eyes as the clouds move in the sky and some of the blue sky comes out. In order to keep the painting naturalistic, I'm being careful not to overstate these subtle colour shifts. There is a tendency amongst beginner painters, and I've been guilty of this too, which is to overstate the subtle colours that we see in nature, such as painting a dull purple as a bright purple, and painting with too much chroma in general, as it is exciting when we identify different colours in the scene, and although as an artist we do have freedom to change and enhance things within our painting, and colour is certainly something that can be successfully played and experimented with, I would say just do be careful with the chroma, as the risk with oversaturating the colours is that it can make your painting look too garish and a bit amateur, as the secret to painting a colourful scene isn't painting chromatic colours, but rather painting a variety of shifts in hue within the painting, as colour, like value, is relative to what's next to it. So a dull grey purple can look vibrant if it's painted next to its complementary colour, which would be a yellow, as these are on opposite sides of the colour wheel and therefore make the other colour look more vibrant. Also, you do need those grey low chroma colours to help set the stage for those vibrant high chroma colours, as the low chroma will give the high chroma more impact as a result. As the light has changed a bit during the duration of my painting, and every now and then the sunlight breaks through the clouds, creating these cast shadows caused by the trees on the left. And when painting outdoors, you will almost inevitably be faced with some change in light effects as you paint, and you don't need to chase these. However, if you feel like the change would contribute positively to your painting, then it can be good to add it in. In this case, these shadows in the foreground add a bit of variety to this area, and their dark tonal value also contributes to that big compositional L shape that I built my painting upon. The shadows also act as arrows pointing into the scene, which works well compositionally, as you always want to lead the viewer's eyes into your painting rather than away from it. Whilst I've been painting, you may have noticed in the background various people running and swimming in the sea. So here I'm painting two figures swimming in the sea, and I'm just hinting at them with small brush strokes for their head and their shoulders amongst the water.
Hey guys, so I hope you enjoyed that video of me painting down there on Praia do Cedro. So it's quite a steep climb back to the car park. I thought that was a really beautiful beach. The light was quite consistent throughout, and the forecast is meant to be more sunny over the next few days, so we'll get a bit more blue sky. If you did enjoy that video, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel, give me a thumbs up, give me a super thanks if you're feeling generous, and I'll see you for another video painting here in Ubatuba in Brazil.